What's up, guys? So today I want to talk about Cubase's built-in feature called VariAudio. And I've got a track that I've been working on here that's kind of like a Spangle style track. And I wanted to fit some vocals in here, some kind of like chanty type of vocals. And I found a couple of samples that I think the vibe fits perfectly, but they're all in the wrong key. Some of them are completely in the wrong scale, some of them are just in the wrong key. So I want to show you guys a couple of ways of working around this using the Cubase's VariAudio tool. So just as a quick reference, I want to show you what type of sounds we're dealing with here. Just to start things off, I put some echo or some delay and some reverb on there just to kind of liven the sound up a little bit, give it some space. Some of these vocal chanty things were a little bit dry. Then, let's just dive in here and start experimenting with stuff while I show you guys some of the features here. So I'm just going to duplicate this track and then mute the first one just so that I've got like a working copy track. I can always just go back to the original, just duplicate the sample as well. So one thing to note is I think all of these samples I remember are in 110 BPM. So I'm just going to jump in there, switch 110 BPM at the top there, and then turn musical mode, just so that they're kind of aligned with the grid and stuff. Cool, so far so good. So here what I want to do, I'm just going to bounce this so that I've got a second copy here that's different to the first one there. So that I don't, I can always, if I make a mistake, I can always jump back. That being said, is, within the VariAudio tool, there is a, reset function. But anyway, so let's dive in here and I want to show you guys, how powerful this is. So this sample, if you guys can read there, is in B. I believe it's in B major. And this track that I'm working on is in C minor. But I think that the sample, like the vibe of it, fits really well with the vibe of this track. So I want to start trying to squeeze it in here. Let's just copy some of these elements over so I can show you what we're dealing with here. I've got a kick and a bass over here. Let's just start with kick, bass, and percussion and stuff. Don't want to get too complex. I'll add synths and stuff a little bit later on. So if the track were in C major, this would be super easy fix. We would literally just be able to transpose this up one and it would kind of work. However, I want to show you guys the power of this edit VariAudio, and there's a couple of examples that I've got here that are going to be particularly good to outline some of these features. So let's just straight off the bat just hit this edit VariAudio button and you'll see it processes and gives you almost like a MIDI of the note change within these samples. So we can go ahead and check these out and verify that it is actually a B major. So I find it a bit easier to just shift it to C and then have a look. Yep, it's all the white notes, it seems. So what we want to do here is we want to shift some of these notes onto the minor scale. So first things first, I'm just gonna undo what I did there. And I want to show you guys a couple of features here which are really, really cool. So obviously, due to the nature of voice, the singer is not going to get these notes exact every single time. This is why stuff like auto-tune and that kind of thing is so popular. But something about this VariAudio is very cool because it's kind of like, it's not like a real-time process. So, you know, it allows you to, for example, select a single note and adjust just that note's amount of quantize to the pitch and stuff like that. So you can get very, very advanced with it. But for these quick shifts of like major to minor keys and that kind of thing, it's super, super handy. Or even just for, you know, quantizing something like this. So let's just select all of these nodes and then just choose quantize pitch 100%. And you'll see it automatically shifts everything onto the grid. Now we can just select everything again and shift it up 1. Now we're in the key of C major and everything is kind of chromatic. So straight off the bat, you know, it obviously depends, you know, how well trained your ear is, but this E, you know, I can kind of hear that it's a bit off from the minor scale. What we're going to do is we're going to shift that down to a D sharp, as well as this B over here, we can shift this down to an A sharp, and that should transpose our thing into C minor. Let's have a listen. So sometimes you may want to adjust it. Like I think here might want to go up and then down again. So you want to just play with it, you know, on the scale and just get it to fit nicely and sound kind of natural. So we can also alter the kind of progression of that melody of the vocal, I guess you could say. But there's various other things we can do. So if you go up here to Smart Controls and select Show All Smart Controls, what this allows you to do, so I mean, I guess this is going to be less relevant for this type of example where we're going for something melodic, but you can use this for kind of, you know, flourishes or from going from one note, you know, shifting up to another. So let's just zoom in a little bit here, and you'll see that, you know, when we change this Smart Controls to all, we get a couple of more nodes on each of these little blocks. So the top nodes allow you to actually shift the pitch like that, so you can kind of slide from one note to another. Check this out. Let's maybe slide. It's almost like a portamento kind of thing that you're doing. And it allows you to get this much more natural kind of effect. So let's actually just turn this one down a little bit so it's more of a gradual curve there. Then we can also maybe do a similar thing like here and here. So you can use that kind of like diamond node over here to really fine tune how that shape of this, you know, where the midpoint, that's going to create Control Z, where the midpoint of these curves is, so you can get like a really, really natural curve. So we can also, like I said, experiment and change the kind of progression, change what notes these are doing. I kind of like what's happening here. So let's actually just duplicate this, and I want to bounce it, just so I've got a copy that I can always jump to, and we can jump back into this one. So we can, for example, like come down from the G sharp to the G. Okay, I kind of like how we got it going here, you know, coming down and then up. So then we got like kind of two variations of similar things like this. What we can do also is we can use this to create kind of like chorusy layers. So let's actually just duplicate this again. And we could, for example, set one of these to, you know, like an octave higher, or to do different keys, like a chord kind of thing in the scale. So if we try change it, it'll pop up this window, and if we go here new version, what it'll do is it'll allow us to change this without affecting the original. So here what we can do is, you know, let's get interesting. Let's maybe, you know, create a kind of choir effect. You know what might be interesting is to have it slightly higher. And so let's say, for example, shift the C to the G. And then let's just double check that all of these keys are in the scale. So we kind of got a mid choir and a, not quite an octave, but a fifth. So I think that's that one. So there's another control in here called Formant, which kind of, it's, you know, supposed to emulate changing the throat size of the singer. So what I actually want to do is just jump back into this audio over here that we've got. It's in a separate window now because I put it in a part, but you can still see exactly what's going on here. What we can do is, I believe this is the higher version, we can actually change the formant of these notes per note, so we can have some of them sound slightly kind of like lower in voice or bigger throat. And one thing I found is the higher the formant, the kind of more rich and kind of more sine wavy the sound is. So let's actually just, end off on like a really kind of rich sine wavy sound like that. Okay, let's look at one of these other ones. So let's just duplicate this onto its own new track. Let's just double click here to open up VariAudio again. Actually, what I want to do is quickly just punch in the BPM here. I believe it was 110. Let's audio warp it. Boom. And then let's go into VariAudio, edit VariAudio. So I believe this is D flat minor, which is almost C minor. We just need to shift it down one, I believe. But it looks like there's no... Am I right? D flat. Yeah. So let's shift it down one and see if it fits. So that doesn't fit. So what we can do is let's just add a MIDI track. I believe my MIDI keyboard is sending to that. Yes, we don't want it to send to that, so we can just say not connected, so nothing's going to come through now. And then we can jump in back to our VariAudio, select all of the notes, and we can select here MIDI reference, choose that MIDI track, and let's set MIDI input. And when we punch a MIDI note, you'll see that it kind of shifts all of these notes onto the note that you've punched in. So this is cool. You can kind of like play the track and audition on the MIDI keyboard where it kind of fits in. Yeah, so you can have a lot of fun with it. You can audition single notes, MIDI trigger them, all of them at once, and it's kind of relative to the first note that it's selected, I believe. So here what I want to show you guys is straighten curve. So this kind of like straightens these like inaccuracies in the vocal texture, I guess, as the pitch wobbles. So, as you see here, this kind of like shifts from the C slightly to the C sharp. So that does give it kind of like more of a natural vocal sound. So you don't want to straighten it too much, otherwise that's going to get robotic. But robotic might be a good thing. It kind of might be what you're looking for. But yeah, anyway, let's just play around a bit with this. Yeah, I reckon that fits. Let me know what you guys think. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully that shows you guys how the VariAudio works, various ways to use it in a track. Yeah, let me know what you guys think. See you guys next time.